Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. So today we're going to discuss on chapter 3 multimedia elements. There are 4 multimedia elements that I will be discussing in this chapter. First is this text, second audio, third image, and fourth is the video. So what is text? It is a basic media for many multimedia systems. Most of us rely to the text quite often. Even if we are watching movie or drama, we still read the subtitle. Multimedia products depends on text for many things to explain how the application works. Usually is the operation manual or guideline to guide the user in navigating through the application, deliver the information for which the application was designed. Text consists of two structures. The first is linear and the second is non-linear. The example of linear structure is a word in a sentence. If you look at the left side of the diagram here, so this is the example of the linear structure. And for the non-linear structure is on the right side, where the text or the sentence or the word is represented by graph. So it's either linear graph, bar graph, pie chart that can represent text. Text element can be categorized into 4 parts. First is the alphabet character A to Z. Second is number 0 to 9. Third is a special character, for example, the sign and symbol of hash, star. And the lastly is a special icon or drawing symbol or mathematical symbol or Greek letter other than special character. There are 2 classes of font. First is serif and the second is sans serif. Serif font use decorative tips or flag as the end of the letter stroke. For example, this one, there's a decorative flag or stroke here. And sans serif font don't have this feature. If you look at this, there's no flag or tips. Serif font are usually used for document or screen that have large quantity of text. This is because the serif help guide the reader's eye along the text. Other than font size, you also need to know about tracking, kerning, and leading. Kerning is a space between pair of characters, usually as an overlap for improvement appearance. So this one is the unkern and this is a kern type. And then also you need to know about tracking. Tracking is the spacing between character. If you look at this is a tight tracking and another one is the loose tracking. The lastly is leading. So leading is a space above and below of font or line spacing. It's basically line spacing of the sentence. Graphic is the second element that we're going to discuss. There are 2 types of graphic. Broad type graphic or vector graphic, and the second is the bitmap graphic. So bitmap graphic is an array of dot or pixel. It depends on color depth per pixel, and usually it's a high quality picture compared to the vector graphic. The photo is realistic and the size of the file is larger than the raw type. To calculate the file size, you can use this formula: pixel times color depth divided by 8. The raster image are stored in image file with varying format, for example JPEG or bitmap file, and usually image file size can become large. You must balance the need of quality image with the needs for small file size. Draw type graphic or vector graphic is a geometric shape stored as set of instruction. It is smaller than a bitmap graphic. It can resize, rotate with no distortion, and the photo quality is lower than the bitmap. So vector graphic are computer graphic images that are defined in terms of 2D points which are connected by line, curve to form polygon and other shape. For example, PNG file. Drawing programs such as Adobe Illustrator can be used to create draw type graphic. Paint programs such as Paint Shop Pro can be used to create bitmap image, and image editing program, for example Photoshop, can use for bitmap graphic editing. If you want to use the graphic on the internet, it is best to use a file compression. For example, use JPEG compared to bitmap because the size is much smaller, and use thumbnail that usually been used in DVD or CD for image compression. The third multimedia element is the audio or sound. There are two characteristics of sound. The first, the amplitude, which is the power of intensity of sound. The louder the sound, the larger the amplitude. Second is the frequency, which is the distance between peak measured in hertz. The higher the frequency, the clearer and sharper the sound is. Nowadays, audio or sound has been digitalized. The sinusoidal wave is converted to bit via sampling. So the quality depends on sampling rate, which is the number of times sample is taken, usually at 11.025 kHz, 22.05 kHz, and 44.1 kHz. In digital audio, 44.1 kHz is a common sampling frequency. Analog audio is recorded by sampling it 44,100 times per second. And then we need to consider the sampling size, amount of information stored, which is 8-bit or 16-bit. These are the example of sound file format. MP3 is the common use file format because the quality is near stereo. Another sound file format is MIDI, Music Instrument Digital Interface. MIDI is used during early stage evolution of smartphones. During that time, a smartphone only has small storage. So that's why MIDI has a very small size and contain code or command and not digitalized sound. The last multimedia element is the video. In the old days, the video recorded is analog and stored in tape. But nowadays, we are using digital recorder where the video is recorded into formats such as MPEG. Furthermore, video recorder with 4K resolution is the currently highest video recording resolution with 60 frames per second that can be found in market. Video file size is one of the main elements that need to be considered. So how to determine the file size? First is the frame rate. The lower is the better. Usually we use 15 frames per second FPS. The higher the frame per second, the larger the size of the video. And then the color depth. You need to choose lower bit. Video compression is the process of encoding a video file in such a way that it consumes less space than the original file and is easier to transmit over the internet. So we use codecs to do the video compression and decompression. There are two types of video compression, lossless and lossy. Lossless example is FFV1. It basically copy pixel by pixel of the original file. And lossy example is MPEG4. It produces comparable video quality for human eyes to see. The most commonly used compression format is MPEG file. MPEG stands for Motion Pictures Expert Group. It reduces file size by eliminating redundancy information, which is the background. There are two type of format that usually been used for recording: MPEG4 Part 10 and MPEG4 ABC Advanced Video Coding. MPEG-4 support resolution up to 4K. There are two types of video transfer. First, the HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It is used for download video. And the second is RTSP, Real-Time Streaming Protocol. So this is more on video streaming. So this is the video editing software example. This is an example of video editing software. First is Cinemaster. We already did it in Lab 2 using our smartphone. And second is Adobe Premiere. It has a lot of feature, transition, animation, special effects, and filters. So that's all for chapter 3. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.